welcome to a day in my life, a writing vlog. I am currently out for a walk. It is 6:28 in the morning. The only time I go outside because it is way too hot if I go any later. But yeah, we're gonna take a little walk and then I will be taking you through kind of the rest of the day for my writing. I am drafting two different things, but I'm gonna focus on a very specific one today, so I'm very excited about that. And yeah, let's just appreciate this hat that I have on. Thank you, Laurel, I think it was. But yeah, I'm just gonna take a little walk now. Let's do it. So I am listening to the Veronica Roth's next release. It's called Seeking the Traitor's Son. It took me a second, but I'm about like 3 chapters in now and still trying to figure out how I feel about it. But I don't know, it's been a long time since I've read this specific genre, so I'm having like, I don't know, I have to get used to it again, I suppose. But it is also like dystopian fantasy, so it's very different than like Divergent or whatever. And I didn't read her other things past Divergent. Wait, no, I did. I think I read one, but yeah, so this is where we're at. And see how much of this book I can get through. Baby. Oh yeah. And we're back, looking slightly less rough. I saw what I filmed and I was like, wow, you can really tell that I'm not feeling the greatest, which is why I actually did not go to bar this morning. I typically go to Pure Barre on Friday mornings, but today I just did my walk because I was not feeling great. But that's beside the point. We're still gonna work. We're still gonna write. I'm very, very excited about a dedicated writing day. I actually almost failed at that already because I was like, let me put laundry on. Oh, I need to like clean up the kitchen. Oh, and I was like, no, you have to write. Today is a writing day. I do like designating writing days, especially when I'm behind on drafting, because I have to force myself not to do anything else, which is, I mean, sometimes you just have to. And writing is my favorite part of my job, but I am very much one of those people who needs to have my to-do list done. So I get distracted by doing all the business side of things and all the other things. So anyway, today is a dedicated writing day. So I'm very excited. I will tell you more about the project I'm working on when we're in the office. I am going to do what am I gonna do? No, I'm gonna make breakfast. Maybe this is why I just don't vlog a lot, is because I don't know what I'm saying half the time. Anyway, we're gonna make very quick breakfast. We're gonna have our protein coffee and then I'm gonna make eggs. And then I had made some air fried mushrooms last night, so I will add that to the omelet. And then we're gonna go into the office and start work, and I am excited. I'm excited you guys are here finally for this day. I will answer some questions that I have been previously asked later in the video, so there will be a little bit of frequently asked questions in here, but for now, let's eat. I need some food. So let's talk about this book. I have mentioned this book before a couple of times, but very briefly, if you subscribe to my newsletter, you saw I think I did like an aesthetic for it a while back, but since then I haven't really talked about it, mostly because I'm not really allowed to talk about it. It's part of kind of like a collab project that I'm in, and basically this book is a new adventure for me and that is the easiest way that I can describe it, but also a new adventure in a familiar setting, because I am writing a cozy fantasy rom-com set in the world of Skaska. So this is my first non-fairy tale retelling story set in Skaska. If you're new to me and you don't know what I'm talking about, I have a series of 6 standalone cozy fantasy romances that are based in the Russian fairy tale land. So every single fairy tale is a Russian fairy tale, and I have created this world of Skaska in this for these fairy tales, and now I get to write a rom-com, a fantasy rom-com set in that world. And I'm one of those people that I do not plan things before I start writing, and I'm not special in that in any sense, because there are plenty of other authors who are pantsers or even less planners than me. But for me, the important parts of prepping for a book is having the names picked out. I have to know my main characters. Some of the side characters they come basically as I write a lot of times, but my main characters, they need to be named. I need to know exactly who they are before I start, in that sense. The other part of the book that I have to know is the back of the book. I don't do any kind of outline. I don't write out a lot of ideas about, what's gonna happen, but I do write the back of the book. So that is mostly my blueprint for where the story is gonna go. I typically also know like one of the main conflicts. I don't know if this book is different, okay? Because I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to have a like Baba Yaga conflict, because the rest of my stories kind of have that magical aspect of her in it, because she is a huge part of this world. But I'm not sure if I want to take it in that direction or if I want to keep it cozy. And originally I was going to keep it very cozy and really focus on the emotional and personal conflicts versus like a bigger magical conflict. But at the same time, I kind of want to bring more of that magic stuff in. So I don't know if it's going to be a conflict, but I do know that I'm going to bring those Russian fairy tale elements into the story. I'm just not going to be retelling any kind of a fairy tale. I'm incredibly excited about that part, because I have created this world that I love so much, and now I kind of get to play around with it, because I get to create my own characters that have no kind of blueprint except for what I have come up with. And yes, the setting is still like the fairy tale world, but you've never really been in this village. You've been in the kingdom before. It is the Winter Kingdom, but you've never been in this village before. You've never met these people. You don't know anything about this little life that they have, and I just get to come up with all of it. So that is the basis of this story, and that is what I'm drafting today. I don't particularly know if I am going to be drafting chapter 1 or if I'm going to be drafting just random scenes. At the beginning of the book, a lot of times I sit down to draft and I start with a kind of an emotional conflict situation between the two main characters. Oftentimes they're yelling at each other. That's just a thing. And so I might start there and then pivot back to chapter 1. But my chapter 1 gets rewritten a bunch. The beginning of my books are always the weakest, because I am a discovery writer. And so as I write, I discover what my characters are like, what they want, and all that stuff. So once the book is done, I always go back to the beginning and kind of fix that part. So I don't focus a lot of my time on the beginning. In the beginning, I will go back and fix a lot of that stuff later. So we'll see how much I can draft today. I will do little check-ins. I think I will do maybe possibly a little bit of sprinting. I will do maybe 30-minute sprints or so. I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll see how I'm feeling. I'm just like very excited to get started and get into it. I did do a little bit of business work before I turned the camera back on because I needed to get some stuff done. But I'm ready and prepped now to start writing. So we're gonna go with that. And then maybe, yeah, we'll see. I don't know. We'll see. But I'll do another little check-in in a little bit. A little about my desk essentials. When I'm drafting, I use this specific keyboard instead of my work keyboard. It's just, I love the sound of this thing and the feel of it. So this is typically the one that I draft on. I also usually have some notepad and notes and a pen to kind of jot stuff down as it comes to me. If I'm working on one scene and then something comes to me, I will jot it down here. And then obviously I have my coffee still, my water, my lights. I will turn Criminal Minds on because that has been keeping me company in the background recently. So my iPad will have Criminal Minds on, and then I will be working on the computer. So let's go. So it's 12:22 now, so I'm gonna have lunch. I actually made lunch for today yesterday, and I'm very excited about that because that means that I don't have to cook and I can just get right back into work once I'm done, just saving myself some time. But so far the progress of the day, I have went back and kind of refined the back of the book aspect a little bit. And then I drafted about, I'm gonna say we're a little bit over 1,000 words, I think, but that's because it was kind of just like random scenes and ideas, which is just part of the process. So now I'm gonna have lunch, and then I'm actually actively trying to stay away from my office during lunch. So I'm gonna read for the time that I eat, and then I will go back, and hopefully then when I sit down, I will not be doing any kind of prep, nothing, going over anything. I will sit down and actually just write. So we'll see how many words I can get, and maybe we'll do like a sprint or something. I'll do some keyboard sounds for you guys if you like that sort of thing. I'll just include a little disclaimer and be like, study or write with me for 5 minutes and 10 minutes or whatever, and then we'll just work together because it's a work day. Anyway, it's going really, really well, and I'm really excited. So let's just eat now. So I got through about 20 pages of this, and this one is about a group of sisters. I think there's only 3 sisters, and their mother, who they've not been in contact with, dies, and she leaves the house that they used to live in to the girls, and one of the girls, the main character, decides that she's gonna move to this house and renovate it, but the catch is that this house is supposedly possessed. So we are now at the stage where there's gonna be a funeral and the main character is gonna go to it while the other girls are not going. So I'm excited. It's been a while since I've read I guess this would be considered horror. So anything like horror related, really, I typically stick to thrillers, mostly because every single time I've picked up a horror book, I have been very disappointed because it was just so not horrific. I don't know, I have a really high tolerance, so it needs to at least be fun. And if it's not fun, then we have a problem. But the writing in this already is pretty fun. So I will see how I feel about this book and keep you updated on it. But I like the cover. That's why I picked it up today, actually, is because I have a little stack of books that I want to read. And this one just talked to me, spoke to me, whatever, however you say. You reached out to me. It sounds very appropriate for a possessed house book. Anyway, I'm gonna go work now. I was not kidding. She's living her best life. This is her favorite. Another 1,000 words down, and I am rewarding myself with a little bit of kombucha. I am a big fan of kombucha, and we're trying this new one. It's mango passion fruit. So hopefully this hits the spot so that I can keep going. New location, we're taking a little break because I promised you a few frequently asked questions in this video, and we're gonna do that now before I forget. So I get these questions pretty often, sometimes in my DM, sometimes in my email, but it's always about writing and inspiration and my process. So I'm just gonna do a very quick overview of how I start a book. And yes, the number one question that I do get asked a lot is, okay, maybe it's not the number one question, but it's pretty much neck and neck with where do you find inspiration, which is the other one I'm gonna cover. But the first one is how I outline. And as you may have seen from the beginning of this video, I do not outline. I write by basically vibes most of the time. I do think that the more I write, the more I have things figured out in my brain. I just don't put them on paper. The biggest thing for me is that if I sit down and start to figure out where I want the story to go, if I outline in any kind of in-depth way, the way a lot of authors do, I basically tell myself the story and then I don't care about writing it as much because I have already put all my thoughts and ideas on paper. So what I've learned is that works best for me is writing the back of the book, which is, we talked about this earlier, and figure out the main characters' names, figuring out the setting, and then figuring out some of the major conflicts, the personal conflicts. So I think, yeah, I did talk about this in the beginning, how I don't know what kind of a conflict this book is really gonna have, but I have figured out the conflict that the two main characters are gonna have in their relationship. Because I love the banter, I love the tension, I love the yearning. Those are just the things that I love the most. And so typically the beginning scenes that I kind of jot down before I even sit down to draft any of the book are those scenes. There's a scene that I already wrote for this book where they're still in the state of hating each other and competing on basically everything, and they're kind of forced to work together on this project, and she ends up breaking her shoe while they're in the forest, and then he kind of just leaves her. But he doesn't go far. He comes back and then he has to carry her back to the village. And that scene has brought me so much joy, and a lot of that tension is kind of building to overflow at that point. And yeah, spoiler alert, it's one of my favorite scenes and it's definitely making it into the final copy. So yeah, if I was gonna make a timeline for how I start drafting my book, would be the names go first, and then the back of the book, and then kind of the random scenes, and then I would sit down and kind of play around with where I am with the characters, and then just start drafting. And as I'm starting to draft, I will take the time to kind of write out the little things about the setting or something that is kind of speaking to me automatically almost from the story, so that I can add that. And then I have a running list of things and ideas that I kind of keep in one place as I'm drafting. So then, especially if I'm forgetting something as I get further into the book, or if an idea comes and I want to use it later, I have it all right there. It's not until about 25% into the draft that I actually sit down and look through Pinterest for an inspirational images, because I just very chaotically need to get everything out of my brain on paper first, and then I can kind of refill that with new inspiration. And yeah, I can draft a book pretty quickly. It really just depends. I have done it as quickly as 5 days. I have also done it as long as 5 months. So it really just depends on the book itself. Number 2 question that I get asked all the time is, where do I find my inspiration? And this is the most generic answer ever, but literally everywhere. Guys, the world is full of inspiration. Just look anywhere, okay? I know that's not very helpful, okay? I get that, but I can't explain the way my brain works. I will just be, I don't know, walking from my car to, the gym, and suddenly I get this very vivid image of a girl who is going to the gym and meets somebody, and then there's this tension in the situation that happens, and before I'm even inside, I already have this scene in my head. Or I see a cute TikTok proposal video, and suddenly my brain is but I bet they met and did this to get to this point, and suddenly there's an idea there. I will read an offhanded comment or a quote or something online, and suddenly my brain is but what if I write a story about this? And it's just, they don't connect if somebody else was looking at it. It's just how does a quote in Korean about doing well connects to an idea about a romance set in space? But it does, okay? I think the big thing for me is something that I struggle with all the time is that I have a tendency to kind of just pour out my ideas and I don't replenish the well as much as I need to. And when that happens, I lose that kind of inspiration and I don't see those ideas floating around anymore. So something that I'm working towards a lot in my own life is actually taking the moments to recharge. And for me, a lot of times it's K-dramas or C-dramas, spending time with my parents. Haven't been reading as much as I would like to, but yes, reading is also a huge part of being an author. And I'm sure you've heard that before. But for me specifically, reading has always been a huge part of being an author because I basically learned English by reading. And I learned it by reading Christopher Pike and R.L. Stein and Nancy Drew and those Harlequin intrigue novels that you could get for 10 cents at Saviors. It's just like one of those things that is a very big part of being an author is reading. And like I said, I haven't been really doing a lot of reading and I haven't been really fulfilling that well lately. So a lot of the inspiration that I've been getting is mostly like stubbornness coming out because I needed to get stuff done. And the last question I'm going to answer in this vlog is, do you read within your genre when you draft? And I used to not read in my genre at all when I draft. I mean, to a point where I was like staying away from drafting fantasy, no fantasies, only thriller. Like I cannot read any fantasy because I was so afraid that I was like gonna just take something from those books and put it in my books without realizing I'm doing it. But actually, the more I write, the more I need to read within my genre. And so before I would read kind of like prep work, I would read a bunch of fantasy that is like the genre I was writing, and then I would draft, and while I'm drafting I would only read thrillers. But now I learned that I do need to stay within the fantasy world because there's so many amazing authors out there and they teach me so much about how to write and prose and storytelling and character development that I don't want to stay away from that because I'm like scared I'm gonna put stuff in there because I'm not. That's the thing, is like you become way more self-conscious about what you're writing the more you write. And that's another part, is like I always get asked about, you know, do you need to take classes? Do you need to do all this stuff? And I'm like, you need to read and you need to write. Those are your two big formula points on how to be a writer. So nowadays, I definitely read within the genre. I don't overread within the genre. I think I still try to keep it, you know, to like one book at a time when I'm drafting. But I want to learn. I want to get better as a writer. So I definitely stay more within the genre than I used to. And now that I have rambled on for 10 minutes, I'm gonna go back and finish my word count for the day. I think I only have about 1,500 words left for like my goal for the day, but I'm gonna keep writing until I can't write no more. Let's do it. So I think I am calling it for the day. I am getting a migraine, which means that I need to go be in a very dark room to try to stay off it. But this day was very productive, not as productive as I would have liked, but very productive nonetheless. I ended up with a little bit over 4,000 words, which is obviously not bad. I wanted to hit 5,000, but technically, if we're gonna count everything that I've written today, including the back of the book and some of the scenes, I did hit 5,000, so we're just gonna count it as a win. But this was definitely a very cozy stay-at-home writing vlog. So let me know if you like these, if you would like to have more of these where I kind of just take you on a journey with me when I'm drafting. It might not be as long of vlogs as this one. I'm really just trying out this format to see how well I like it. And I do like it. I feel like it adds a sense of accountability to my day and kind of reminds me to, one, get up and take a break and do a little bit of movement instead of just being glued to my desk, but also it'll be just a really fun thing for me to look back at and see when I'm done with this book specifically and see my process. So I'll definitely do more of these. I'm not sure if I'll keep this format or if I'll do more of like a full day in the life, or maybe I'll do both. I don't know. Let me know what you think, and let me know if you have any questions, and I don't know how to wrap this up, so we're just gonna go before I pass out. But make sure you like this video and subscribe to this channel, and let me know what you're reading. I don't know, I feel like now that I'm reading again, I want book recommendations, so maybe let me know what's on your TBR. I think that's it. Yeah. See you next one. Bye.